Well, first of all, good afternoon, everyone. I am very excited to be able to share some thoughts with you this evening. It is always a pleasure to be with Courtney and Ingrid. I really appreciate the invitation. You're asking some very pointed questions right now that we all. I am as Courtney said, we worked together, got to know, became friends at the German Marshall Fund of the United States. And the German Marshall Fund, for those of you who know, is a U.S. think tank that is totally focused on Atlantic relation, really about
What happened to Benny? What happened to
our European
Mute the music, please.
in the spirit of the Marshall Plan. And the three components that, GMF has really had has been about working around our leadership component, working around our civil society. One of the things that is very exciting about the GMF and to where I am right now is the work that I'm doing with Congress. And so when you ask the question about the state of the relationship between the United States and its European allies, I think it plays out on TV, and for the last several years, it has been strained, very strained, and it has definitely been damaged. It is not where it was. It is not. Our European partners, I think, are still left in a very puzzled state as to the relationship that is taking place between what they would consider and what we have considered for all these years, our most trusted allies and friends. Those relationships have been strained for a number of reasons. It's coming from the highest level of our government. But people are asking the question around all kinds of issues that have an impact on the work that we do together. And largely it's been around issues around security and defense. I think it plays out on such a regular basis about the United States support of NATO, which has been something that has never been questioned before, but which has been put in jeopardy, and something that I know that we are working on a almost regular, I would say a very regular basis. The work that I do at GMF is really about how do you work with a network of individuals, thought leaders, executives who really want to serve as a resource for Congress and people in the administration around issues that we are challenged with on the U.S. transit relations. And it's not just about issues, but also about the friendship and support of the network that has been built up, and also around how we continue to work on mutual concerns and issues together. I've been very fortunate in the 5+ years that I've been at GMF to work with the United States Congress and their counterparts of parliamentarians throughout Europe. And that has really, I think, been one of the strengths of the continued strength of the relationship between the U.S. And its European allies, is the fact that our congressional leaders, in a very bipartisan way, have not wavered, not one iota, in the relationship that they have with their U.S. Legislators. We have always been able to have frank and honest discussions, frank and honest conversations, whereby pre-COVID, we were in constant exchange opportunities on a whole host of issues that went way beyond issues around security and defense. It went to issues around cybersecurity, went to issues around artificial intelligence, privacy, issues around democracy, diversity, women empowerment. You name it. Anything that you can just imagine that friends and allies need to be working on to solve problems that may be confronting our democracies, we would be working on that with members of Congress.
Can I ask you a question really quickly? How is COVID-19 changing the work that you're doing with Congress? Like, how is that affecting?
I would say significantly, but just like everyone else, we're in a new reality. And we're also in, I think, a very transformative moment, and we're trying to find ways in which to work together. I'm happy to report that we have had numerous exchanges between congressional leaders and their counterparts in Europe, at the European Union, and in Germany, and throughout some of the other countries. We have had lots of conversations virtually with congressional staffers. And when I say conversations, I'm talking more of being very, very targeted and specific to the committees that matter on both sides of the Atlantic. Everything from foreign affairs to defense, armed services, technology, issues around energy and commerce, trade and investment, you name it. So it makes it's different because you can't travel, and people really like that one-on-one exchange face-to-face. But, you know, in this new reality, virtually, we have not seen a fall off of the members that have participated. Actually, we've seen an increase. So, you know, if you can design a conversation that is member to member, which is basically peer to peer, and a subject matter that matters to them, I think you will definitely, we have definitely gotten the attention and have captured their imagination, because people want to keep the relationship moving. And you can't wait and say, well, let's just wait until COVID is over and then we'll get back together. We can't. We have issues that are happening every single day, and challenges that we're facing in all of our countries. And so there's no better time than the present to be having regular contact, and that's what we've been doing.
Can you give us some advice as a community of activists, business leaders, people who are so engaged in providing and building and creating solutions to get us successfully through this virus and beyond? Can you give us some advice on how our members might engage with their representatives, whether they're local or state or national?
You know, as all of you know, nothing is stopping. It may be momentarily different, and it may be a change, but I think sometimes that this action and interaction that we're having over these virtual conversations is really allowing us to further business opportunities. I remember when I was serving at the United States Chamber of Commerce, and when I also then later on served in the State Department, you know, you're always trying to figure out if you can travel. You spend a lot of time preparing for a trip. You spend a lot of time preparing for the actual event, as they say. And then you take the trip, and then you spend a lot of time there, you know, depending on how much meetings you have worked out of what the program is. And then you leave and you come back and you start trying to think, how do I keep this going? Well, with technology, we can. I mean, you know, we're 24/7. We can just press send and be talking to anybody, anytime, basically anywhere, as long as it's, you know, arranged or prearranged. So I think it could be a boom to people who embrace it. And not only embrace it, I think that understanding that people are trying to get something done, but also people are having some serious issues. And so I think, you know, I used to always say, you know, Americans sometimes like to launch into the conversation and like to launch into the deal, whereas other people are really trying to figure out, do we have a relationship first before I get to business? And it is not that they're not going to get to business, it's just that they kind of weave their way through it. I think technology allows us to do that. We have so many ways to connect. And then now with all this sharing that can take place of documents and the sharing of all the information, people are finding out that you just have to adapt. It's about about adapting. Another way is that I'm sure you've seen, and what I've always been a big proponent of when I worked at the Chamber and worked at the State Department, was that public-private partnerships had started, but now I think they're moving even faster now. And you can even do them over the internet now because you can have these conversations that can bring all of these people together. And so I think if someone said to me, just don't bore me when you're talking to me, just don't bore me when you're trying to work with me. Can you just make sure that we are, if there's an opportunity for us to connect, then there's an opportunity for us to do business, then there's an opportunity for us to do follow-up. And so we all understand that, just going on ad nauseum on these Zoom calls can be something that you say, okay, next I can go do something else. But with public-private partnerships, bring a lot of players to the table. And if you're working especially at the state and local level, where now we all see resources are scarce, resources are going to be reallocated, resources are going to be limited. So the private sector is going to play, I think, a big role in how government is delivering services, how government is working with their individual citizens, how government is even going to do business. And so for those companies, I think that can reimagine how to do that work are going to be moving further and faster along. And then also understanding when you work at those state and local levels, and even in the federal government, what is the main priority? Well, we all know the main priority right now is this pandemic. And how do we it's not so much get past it, it's how we are living with it. And then what are we going to do as we come out on the other side? And so for those, I think that are going to be imaginative and creative and about the business, but also about service. How are you going to assist the mayor, the governor, the county executive, the legislator in order to find solution? It can be your business solution, or it can be from a concept that you might have that is going to make the lives of the citizen that they serve so much more impactful and so much more better. We've got issues in healthcare. We've got issues around housing. We got issues around joblessness. And so if you're creating jobs, I'm sure you can be the first at the table. If you're delivering a service that can help people find better housing and to get people off of the street who might be homeless, you're going to be first at the table. If you've got a solution around something that deals with our healthcare and our pensions and issues of that magnitude for our elderly, you're going to be first at the table. If you're going to have ways to be able to, I just think that you have to look in the state of the city or the state of the state's address. And it kind of tells you the direction that an elected official is going. It tells you, if you're not aware, it tells you the priorities that he or she has for their particular community. And you can look at those and say, do they match with my company and or my industry or my, business and what I deliver? But at the most important point, when you go in for that conversation, it's how are you helping them solve that problem? Because they understand that you're there to do business, but they really want to help you, want you to help them understand how to solve their problems.
This is phenomenal. And we have 5 minutes left. So this is the 5-minute warning, but I don't want to let you go. But are you finding that, are the officials, are they accessible? How, do you just schedule an appointment? How does that work?
People always tell me, people aren't accessible. I would venture to say, yes, they are. They're busy. They're very, very busy, and they have their priorities. You just have to fit. I think it's, are you fitting within that priority? And are you to, what is the, you have an objective and they have an objective. And then there's the larger objective of the community of which the elected officials serve. And so if you are going in within a unit, whether it's economic development, whether it's public, whether it's housing, whether it is in the city manager who has the overview of everything that goes on in the city, just really kind of try to target where you see the problem is that one of which you might be able to solve. Because at the end of the day, even before you even get to see the mayor or the governor or the elected official, you've got to have some people on you've got to have a network within in the city community that is going to say, I can help, not so much champion your cause, but I have found some people who can help us get beyond where we are right now. It's cost effective. It's going to put people back to work. It's solving a problem. It's solving an issue. They have a new way of doing things. And so you have to have some adopters within the city or state structure. And so I would never bypass those bureaus. And, as I say, people are busy, but they still are hungry for new ideas and new solutions.